Did you know that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced violence from an intimate partner? 1 in 7 women and 1 in 25 men have suffered an injury by an intimate partner. As a 31-year-old female and a mother of 2 children under the age of 5, I've experienced domestic violence on many occasions from my children's father and from my ex husband. I have become part of that statistic for domestic violence. Domestic violence is the violent or aggressive behavior, typically in the home, involving violent abuse of a spouse or a partner. Physical injury is anything from severe or frequent bruising to a more serious injury. Mental abuse is the use of threats, verbal assaults, and other more subtle tactics to control a person's way of thinking. Financial abuse is a way to gain power and control over a person's mentality by concealing information, limiting victims' access to assets, or reducing accessibility to family and family finances. I want to bring light to some types of abuse, physical abuse being the main one. It is any intentional act causing injury or trauma to another person or animal by way of bodily contact. Emotional abuse is a pattern of behavior in which a perpetrator insults or humiliates and generally instills fear in an individual, and it's in order to control them. Mental abuse is the use of threats, verbal assaults, and any other tactic to control a person's way of thinking about themselves. It's tailored to destroy their self-esteem and their confidence and to undermine a person's sense of reality or competence. As a victim of spousal abuse, I want to bring awareness to the types of abuse. From my personal experience, issues that led up to being abused was the consumption of alcohol. He would drink excessively, and it would spiral into a physical punishment because of something that I said or did that angered him. He would become a different person and harm myself. And I'm not his only victim. The biggest way to prevent and limit the amount of abuse or limit abuse in general is any time that the physical abuse occurs, notification of any law enforcement, and then to make a report. From the report to file an emergency protective order and follow through on that. Once you follow through, you have began the means to have a paper trail began. This doesn't cost anything, and an investigation is done. Once the investigation is done, it'll be determined if it needs to be sent up to a DA or not, which is a district attorney. And then once the DA has it, he will then decide to press charges. If they do, it then will go to a judge. The biggest advantage is that this is going to allow for a paper trail for a judge to see the patterns of conduct. It also establishes in the court system how many times, how many victims there are, what the incidents were, and their depths. This eventually can give a victim a source of claiming their own peace of mind because they could have potentially put their abuser behind bars. This paper trail allows to have them charged and put into any kind of jail or correctional facility. This also will give the victims some security because then they are behind bars and they can feel safe again. I want to conclude in this because physical abuse is, again, any intentional act of causing injury or trauma to another person or animal by way of bodily contact. Emotional abuse is the pattern of behavior in which a perpetrator insults, humiliates, and generally instills fear in an individual in order to control them. Mental abuse is the threats and verbal insults and more subtle tactics to control a person's way of thinking. This is tailored to destroy their self esteem and confidence and undermine a person's sense of reality or competence. Whenever any type of physical abuse occurs, the correct notification of law enforcement is the primary source for protection. Implementation of safe places to stay, go no contact, implement the protective order. These do not cost anything to implement. Initially, the reporting officer is who is going to be in charge, and it eventually goes to a detective, and then the DA, and then it'll go to a judge. In order to do this, it helps to call out the abuser so that justice can be served.